20 terms you absolutely don't need to know, but it's kind of cool to know them. A for aisle. In context of Gothic architecture, it's simply an open passage on the left and the right side of the main middle part of a cathedral. Aisles are narrower and lower than the middle part, which is very logical because making them as wide as the main part would be a tremendous waste of building materials, and the main part can get the sunlight from above aisles. Depending on whether you are a pessimist or an optimist, you may say that aisles are separated from or connected with the main part of a church with an arcade. Arcade in Gothic architecture means a continuous sequence of arches supported by columns or pillars. Or if you prefer, it's a wall with large arched openings. B for buttress. It's an external structure supporting a wall. As walls in Gothic cathedrals were relatively thin and very tall, they needed a support system of thick external reinforcements placed between giant Gothic windows. This way, buttresses didn't interfere with interiors and kept the walls stable. Not really in the correct alphabetical order, but it feels like that's the right time. F for flying buttress. While standard buttresses were used even in ancient times, flying buttresses are clearly associated with Gothic style. And Neo-Gothic, to be fully honest. If standard buttresses couldn't provide full stability, all you needed to do was to add more buttresses at some distance from walls. Load from a roof and walls was transferred through a flyer, which doesn't have much in common with an advertisement on a small piece of paper. Let's take a few steps back to the letter C. Clearstory. It's a wall with large windows above an arcade. As this part was above an aisle, the middle part of a cathedral could be properly illuminated. Crockets. Little decorative elements usually on roof's edges, but also in corners of columns' bases. They could remind plant, animal or geometrical motifs. Fun fact, in Poland they are called żabki, which means little frogs. I have no explanation for that. Chimeras, decorative stone creatures resembling beasts, animals or even humans. Because of their often grotesque character, they were meant to be some kind of warning for believers. Did you think they were called gargoyles? Not quite, because gargoyles served as boats conveying rainwater away from walls. In short, chimeras were purely visual elements, while gargoyles were both decorative and functional. Now we are going to skip a huge part of the alphabet and stop with N for nave. That's this main middle part of a cathedral I mentioned while discussing aisles. Do you reckon the term walking down the aisle? Well, it's walking down the nave, actually. P is for pier. In Gothic cathedrals, it's a massive vertical support, for example for arches in arcades. That's also a pier, by the way. And pinnacle. Pinnacles are those tiny decorative turrets crowning buttresses and spires. The more vertical elements in Gothic, the better. R is for rosette, also known as rose window. A round window with stained glass. Stone divisions created central symmetrical composition. Rose windows were usually placed over the main entrance, and at the opposite backside of a cathedral, and sometimes even in transept walls. Those are transepts, by the way. Ribbed vaulting, one of the most significant constructional achievements of Gothic style. A brilliant construction I'll discuss in a separate video. Ribbed vaulting consists of ribs and transverse arches. T is a very popular letter here. Tracery window, one of windows in Clearstory. Trefoil is a decorative motif often used in windows, but also decorative belts on walls. It's created by 3 overlapping circles built on 2 equilateral triangles. Trefoil was super popular in medieval times because it symbolized the Holy Trinity. Without dwelling into theological details, it had a symbolic value, and it looked really good. Triforium. In medieval architecture it has at least 2 meanings, but here it is a decorative belt with mini arcades between the actual arcade and Clearstory. Behind the mini arcade there could be a narrow passage, or Triforium could be so-called blind. Wimperg is a decorative gable-like element placed over major entrances and windows. Here, for example, we can see good old trefoils and crockets. Let's find some Wimpergs. Now you know those terms. Maybe they will be useful. Most likely not. Thanks for watching.